What's up, guys? Thank you so much for coming. My name is Jaxon. I got told this morning by Josh that I was going to be speaking, and I was like, count me in, right? I like to talk. So a little about myself. I am a social media marketer. Really, I'd like to call myself a lead generation specialist. And basically, my goal of this talk today is really to help you guys get clarity on what marketing makes the most sense for you. I think one of the biggest problems people have when it comes to marketing is not having enough information on what's applicable to their specific situation. Because there's a lot of things to consider between your capital, your industry, your skill sets, the current infrastructure you have that you want to take into consideration. And I think a lot of the times the reason we end up getting burned by marketers is because they're going to say whatever they're selling is the solution, right? When it might not be the best for your specific case. So my goal for you today is to really help you gain clarity on what makes the most sense for you. So a little background on myself. Why the hell should you listen to me? So I started a channel called Passion Toolbox back during the pandemic. And I was able to get 300 million views across Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. From my content. And so I got pretty good at understanding the formulas that go into virality, the formulas that go into getting attention. Off of that, I actually launched, so this was the account I had. At my peak, I was doing about 14 million views a month on my channel. Appreciate that. Come on in, guys. Join the party. So at the peak, I was doing about 14 million views a month on my channel. And I was using that to promote my marketing agency at the time. And basically from there, I would run ads for people. And I was able to work with over 300 brands. And my channel was really all about studying marketing, studying the creator economy. So I was fortunate enough to learn, interview people with large, $100 million CEOs, marketing agencies for Fortune 500 companies, experts on AI. I was able to leverage my platform to interview and get a lot of content that I would put on my channel about these various people. So I got a lot of the information straight from the source of what's working in today's ecosystem and then began to apply that to my business and my clients' businesses. So unfortunately, my account was suspended and I lost my audience overnight. So I went from getting 14 million views a month to 0. And that led me into really diving into the other lead generation strategies we have. You got a question?
Gotta ask, why was it suspended?
I wish I knew, right? It's weird. I just woke up one day and never had broke the terms of service. I actually read the terms of service too. And I woke up and it was just suspended. And then when I tried to appeal it, they're like, we'll log into your account to appeal it. And they're like, well, you can't log in, it's suspended. TikTok. Yeah. Luckily, I actually found out this week that I think someone can get it back for me. I'm probably gonna have to grease their pockets, but I might actually be getting my account back. So.
Recovery scammers.
What was that?
There's a lot of recovery scammers.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. But here's what's interesting. The real value of having a six-figure following is not the audience, because content isn't actually pushed through your following count. The real value of having that is it's a resume, it's an introduction, it's a way to leverage and network, really. And that's really kind of the biggest misconception when it comes to social media, is that followers actually matter. They don't matter at all, right? And I'll dive into that a little more. So now I work with a couple team members. Basically what we do is we build out AI-powered sales systems for coaches, consultants, and agencies, really any high-ticket service business, right? And so my partner Nathan, he has worked with over 400 clients. Some of his results include, right here, you can see some of the results. We work with guys like Michael Sartain from Men of Action, a couple big clients to build, 6 and 7 figure a month businesses. So he handles all our back-end fulfillment, which, side note, that's something I really recommend for anyone running a business. Is I've really kind of broken the business down into 3 departments. We have lead generation, sales, and fulfillment. At first, I was doing everything. And I was making good money, but it wasn't sustainable because I really just had a glorified day job that had a bunch of risk. Right? What I really learned when I lost my account is I need to delegate. I need to have systems, and I need to have talent, right? So instead of trying to be the best at content, the best at sales, the best at fulfillment, I came in and I brought in experts on each step of the process so we can each focus in our own lane. So Nathan, I actually met here in Vegas, ran a really successful agency. We decided to partner and run our business coach with us, which has worked with over 400 clients. We also recently brought on our head of media, Dan Kaufman. He's managed over 500 million in ad spend. He's worked with guys like Tim Ferriss. He's gotten some pretty impressive results, worked with over 50 companies and helped a lot of them even exit their companies. So we brought in a really high-level media buyer as well that I actually met from a connection I got at Tech Alley. So shout out to Tech Alley. Make sure to talk to people. You never know who you're speaking to. So we also have a 6-person tech team and copywriting team that builds out high-level video sales letters, handles all our tech and AI automations for our clients. So that's a little background on myself. But enough about me. Let's get to you guys. So when we're looking at marketing any business, there's essentially 5 ways you can get clients. We have organic content, which is basically posting content, blog articles, stuff like that, podcasting. Right? Then we have outbound. So that's cold calling people, emailing them. And by the way, if anyone wants a copy of this slide, I'll put my information at the end and I can send it to you. So, but we have outbound, so that could be reaching out on LinkedIn, cold calling, direct mail, Instagram, email, right? It's reaching out directly to people. Right? Then we have networking, like what we're all doing right now, right? Going in person, meeting people, conferences, conventions, events like this, right? And then we have referrals, which are obviously either getting clients through people in your network, through your current customers recommending people, or people white labeling your services, right? People adding their service to your service and packaging them together and selling it as their own product, right? And last but not least, we have advertising. This is things like, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, stuff like that, right? So let's start with organic content, right? So organic content, this is obviously posting on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, doing podcasts, and LinkedIn, right? Now, the pros to organic content is it's free, right? It's literally like having a slot machine you don't have to pay for. If you went to the Win right now and that slot machine didn't cost any money, how many times are you pulling that lever, right? As many times as you can, right? Because it's free, right? So, for me personally, I post 3 times a day, right? Why? Because that's 3 opportunities to connect with people in my network. Also, one of the most underrated pieces of organic content that people don't realize is how it actually nurtures the network you've already built. So I took a step back once my account got banned for the last year and stepped away from content. 2 weeks ago, starting to relaunch my podcast, get back into content, and guess what? All these people in my network started calling me out of the blue and wanting to work together. And I was like, And what were they all saying? Hey, I saw your content. I can tell you're really up to some cool stuff. So most people think that the goal of organic, at least when you're starting, is actually to generate leads. But what it really is to nurture the leads that you already have. It's lead nurture, not lead generation, right? So that's the biggest thing for anyone looking to get into content to understand is if you've already spent, a decade building your network, if you put out highly produced content that's actually good, you'd be surprised how many opportunities just start coming just from your current warm network. So now the cons to content is it typically takes the longest to actually produce results. The part of content that's really hard is you can't outsource it as much. You can get people to outsource the production, but at the end of the day, the reason I'm good at content is because I put out 2,000 fucking videos. You know what I mean? I put out 3 to 6 videos a day for 2 years, right? And that's the part that everyone wants to skip. That part is hard to outsource. So certain people, they may want to leverage content, but to be honest, that might not be the best strategy for them because they're not good behind the camera. And the amount of time and effort and energy it's going to take to actually develop that skill set is going to be too much. And if you're just using it as a means to an end because you heard people are getting good results, then you're setting yourself up for failure, right? This needs to be something you're passionate about. The reason why I was able to put out 2,000 videos is because I was talking about something that I genuinely cared about. So I was doing this research anyways. And so if you're putting out content, what I'd really recommend is only do it if you're covering a topic that people literally tell you dude, shut up. I get it. You know what I mean? You want stuff where you're so passionate about it that you would cover it and research it even if you weren't putting out content, right? If you don't have that piece involved, I would recommend staying away from it or finding someone else in your business that does have that passion. Any questions on any of this? Makes sense? Yeah, so who this is good for is I wouldn't do content if you need immediate cash flow, right? There's more reliable strategies like outbound and networking that are more probable to actually create money for your business, leads, sales, right? This is really better for when you're ready to build your brand. And really just like, you know, if you're running ads, it can help nurture, right? So I would mainly only really go into content if you're planning on running in ads because it'll help with conversions, but it has to be something you have time for. You got a question?
Do you have a philosophy around, like, when you're putting out content, how much is educational, how much is entertainment, how much is like about you, how much is like write book, like buy now?
100%. Yeah, so I think I view my content strategy like an investment strategy. Right? So the way that a 75-year-old would invest their money is going to be different than the way a 20-year-old would invest their money, right? So your content strategy should be diversified based on your objective, right? So if you're going for more broad mass appeal, you want to do more entertainment style content, leveraging talking about trending news or celebrities. Right? If you want to go lead generation, you want to be all tactical about as niche as possible, right? And this is where it gets tricky because if you chase vanity metrics, you end up having a big audience like I did. I was getting 14 million views a month and I could barely pay my rent, right? Why? Because views don't equal money. Exactly. Views equal attention, but if you don't do something with that attention, then it's just attention. It doesn't mean anything.
Because that's like, I put out content for 8 years. I built my whole business on LinkedIn organic content.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Like, I have some posts that get thousands of likes and interactions, and I make no money off it. And I get a post that might have 3 likes, and then one of those people would DM me, and they're a $200,000 client. Yeah. And so I was like, like I looked at those like 3 likes as the content failed, whereas the content was in the behavior that the content created. But I was always wondering, like, how to make it better. So one thing I'm seeing with content recently that I really recommend for anyone that wants to leverage it for lead generation is go very specific tactical information in your niche, talking about whatever your topic is. If you're a tax consultant, talk about things in the tax world, right? And then what you do is anyone that likes, comments, follows, shares, interacts with you at all, you reach out to them and use that as an excuse to start the conversation. So what I do every single morning is I go through everyone that follow me on Instagram and any of them that are my target market, I reach out and I go, hey, thank you so much for the follow. How are things going in your world? And I start a conversation. And now I had a guy I was talking to the other day. He has 200,000 Instagram followers and he has like similar on TikTok, and he's just like, it's just not converting. I'm like, okay, I want you to go into your DMs and anyone that looks like your target market that followed you or liked your content, reach out to them and just be like, hey man, thank you so much for the follow. One of my goals this year is to really engage with my community and build that up. I'd love to be in service to you. What can I help you with? Right? And guess what? He went from getting 1 book call a week while he's getting 3 million views to getting 10 because he's having 50 conversations a day that lead into 30 replies that lead into 10 book calls. Does that make sense? Yeah. You had a question?
I've got a question with content and networking.
Yes.
Should I bring it up now or should I wait?
No, go for it. Yeah, talk about it.
Okay. I'm trying to break through path gatekeepers.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to figure out what kind of content I should produce for a trade show to get them to want to talk to me.
And what type of gatekeepers for what industry?
Tech.
For tech?
Tech.
So I would go as specific to the things that they care about. Or a better way to get to the gatekeeper.
Actually, maybe I should describe it a little bit because it's a problem. We help you deduce better.
Well, no, I already got the answer for you. If you want to get their attention, you make a video on them. That's how you do it. If you want to get the attention of a gatekeeper, talk about them. Because who do they care about more than themselves? Right? And this is where, if you have hesitation with what I'm saying right now, is probably telling me that content isn't the medium for you. You're probably better off doing direct outreach or networking. Right? Because if you have any hesitation towards like, I don't want to do that, then how the hell are you going to put out 3 videos a day?
I'm not trying, okay, and I think maybe there's a misinterpretation of content. So what I'm talking about is I'm at a trade show and I'm demoing how the system works. And I'm trying to figure out what to demo for them to get them interested. Because really what's going to make the sale is going to be the data behind it, me showing the success rate of how it works.
So you're saying showing them content in person?
Yes.
So that comes down to what, honestly, your presentation. I wouldn't do content, a video. I would literally present it to them. I would literally go directly to them and figure out how to provide value for them and how this applies to what they want.
And what I'm asking is, what should I present? Yes.
What you should present is what addresses their needs, right?
Okay.
You got to reverse engineer what your target market wants and lean into those pain points. They don't care about the benefits and features of whatever it is you do. They could care less, right? They couldn't care less. What they care about is how do you solve the problems, the deep pain points that they have. You need to focus on that. The vehicle that will get them to that, they don't really care about. They just care that they can solve their problem, right? So you want to get as specific on who you're serving as possible and then show how what you have will fix their deepest pain point. That's what I would say. Yeah.
I'm Jason.
And that's where maybe you got to hire, you know what I mean?
What you're saying.
Yeah.
And I've got that done. But there's nuances inside of that.
And that comes through trial and error. That's what I would say. Yeah. Any other questions on content before I move on to the next strategy? All right, cool. So next up, we got outbound. So a little background on myself. After I lost my channel, I lost my main lead generation source. So I'm like, what the hell do I do now? So what I did is I built a commission-based outbound team that would reach out to people directly on Instagram, phone, email, TikTok, etc. Right? And I was able to build a good team from that. But what I found was people don't want to do that job. It sucks, right? So I was hiring people very easily because there's a lot of demand for work, but they would quit very quickly. So I started looking into what could I do to make this process more efficient so I have less turnover. And that's when I started diving in the world of AI. And what I learned is you can automate pretty much any touch point. So now I have softwares that will automate all my outreach on Instagram. I have softwares right now that are automating all my email outreach. I send 100,000 personalized emails every single month for my business. We currently have a cost per acquisition of $400 for a $9,000 offer with that strategy. So anyone that's in the B2B space, I highly recommend you start with outbound first, unless you have a good amount of capital. But even if you have capital, right? What are your two options with B2B that are automated? It's either advertising or outbound. There's the two ways you can automate reaching your clients. Well, the reason why I always suggest starting with outbound is because it's cheaper and the data we build, we can use to create better interest targeting on our advertising, right? So when we do our emails, for example, we'll build these comprehensive lead lists. I'll use our Coach With Us offer, right? It's serving coaches. So I built a list of 100,000 coaches and consultants, and I have how many employees do they have? Are they C-suite? Are they just starting up? Have they gotten any funding recently? Where are they located? What are all their different Twitter, Instagram, corporate phone number, personal phone number? We're able to get all this data online, leveraging either data brokers or AI tools that scrape a lot of these platforms. So I'm able to get a lot of very specific data on my target market, and I can take that data and upload it when I'm running ads to train these algorithms on who to show my ads to. So I always recommend, if you're in the B2B space, start with outbound, because you can automate it relatively quickly and then use that data to improve the results on your ads. Now, there's different places we can reach people. Instagram and TikTok, I would do that. If you're broke and you're looking, it also depends on where your target market is. So I'd always start by figuring out where your market is, right? Like if you're going for decision makers of big companies, they're not going to be on TikTok. They're not going to be on Instagram. They might be on Facebook, but they're more likely on LinkedIn, right? Or you're more likely able to find a data broker that has their email or phone number, right? Now, there's different platforms, like I said, like Instagram and Facebook and, social media platforms we can go to. Those are good because they're typically cheaper and it's easy to find your target market. The cons are those are hard to scale because there's only so many people these platforms will allow you to reach. Instagram only allows you to DM about 50 people a day. LinkedIn, depending on if you have Sales Navigator, I think caps out at like 50 to a couple hundred, right? Facebook, it's 30, right? TikTok, it's kind of gray area, but roughly 75, right? So even if that strategy is working, now you got to make all these extra accounts, and it's just kind of, it's more of something you could do at the beginning when you're grinding to get clients, right? Now, LinkedIn's nice because there's automation tools that can automate that. I've definitely gotten a lot of clients from LinkedIn, but by far the best outbound strategy to automate, in my opinion, is email. The way we automate email outreach is by buying what we call secondary domains, right? So there's only one, you can only send about 30 to 50 emails per email account before you start getting flagged as spam. So the way you get around that is you buy additional domains. So if my main domain is coachwithus.com, I'll buy comecoachwithus.com, right? And if they were to type that domain in, we just hyperlink it back to the main one, so everything's still under brand, right? And then from there, if we have a campaign that works, all we gotta do to scale it is buy additional domains. And that's how we've been able to scale to the point now where I'm sending 100,000 personalized emails every single month on autopilot, right? And then we create custom responses based off of what they have responded, because we know if we ask them a question, they're gonna say one of a couple things. And then we leverage AI to have automated responses based off of what they say. And then basically if they say something outside that framework, we just have a personal appointment setter come in and respond. So we have basically completely automated outbound systems that are being monitored by people. You got a question?
That goes back to the question that someone asked over there about the makeup and composition of that.
Yeah.
How much are you doing for informational emails versus emails that are more like, hey, for a specific product I want to sell you right now?
Yeah, good question. So when we go to the mix of emails, it's important to distinct what type of email we're talking about. I'm talking about cold outreach emails. That's different than warm emails that are to your own list. This is to a cold list of people that don't know us. You're talking about more of like, hey, someone opts into my landing page and then they're in my ecosystem, right? In regards to inbound, I can't speak too much on that. Come on in, guys. Just because that's not my field. But what we do and typically recommend is, the first 2 weeks of getting someone into your ecosystem, the objective is to get them on a call with you, right? So we don't, like when we send out messages, it's not like, here's 7 tips on how to get more leads for your business. We're like, hey, Stacy, I see you applied to get on a meeting with us. Just wanted to find a time we could chat. When are you available, right? Until you actually get them on a call. Now, once you get them on a call, they either buy or they don't. If they don't buy, that's when you then push them into the nurture infrastructure where you have, different, types of like things where you're providing value, showing testimonials. I can't speak specifically on that type of email because that's not what I do. But I would say a lot of it is just testing, right? Anyone can say they know what is going to work, but any marketer telling you they can guarantee you results is lying. Right? And the reason why is it's a probability game. I could do the exact same thing for 2 different people and get 2 different results, right? Which, side note, one thing I will say, the number one reason why people fail with marketing or get burned by marketers is because they have too small of a runway, right? So I can't tell you how many people have come to me and they're like, I have $5,000. I need you to make my business successful. And it's like, okay, well, what if it took me $30,000 to find a winning campaign? You'd say I scammed you. But when I found that campaign at $30,000, that campaign would have made you $500,000, right? So a lot of times the reason why people fail when it comes to marketing isn't because they're doing the wrong things. It's that they're not doing enough of it. They're not spending enough on ads. They're not sending enough outreach messages. We get good sales from outreach, but guess what? We're also sending 100,000 outreaches a month. People would be like, oh, I tried outreach. I'm like, how many you send? They're like 500. I'm like, I send 3,000 a day, right? And so that's something to take. A lot of times when people aren't getting success with marketing, it's either they quit too soon, they're not doing enough volume, right? Or they're not tracking their data. They're making decisions based off of emotion. You need to make decisions off of data. The way marketing works is a scientific method. You have a hypothesis that this copy or this piece of content or this ad is going to work, right? It's a hypothesis. There's no magic formula, right? Then you test it, and it either works or it doesn't. If it doesn't work, you're going to get data that tells you why, then it can allow you to have a stronger hypothesis. And then you test it again until you find something that works. When you find something that works, typically that winner will scale much higher than the losers cost you. And that's how marketing works. But most people, they're like, this is my money, make it happen. And it's like, okay, there's only so much I can do though, because maybe we find a winner that time, but it might take a little longer. Yeah, you got a question?
Is there a ratio for investment to return? Like, let's say that if I'm looking at getting $100,000 in return, and I couldn't even expect that from only going to pay $5,000.
Yeah.
$30,000, at least have a chance of hitting $100,000. Is there some sort of ratio for that?
Yeah, I mean, if I gave you $1 and if you gave me $1 and I gave you $2 back, would you do it?
Of course.
Yeah, if you gave me $1 and I gave you $1.25 back, would you do it?
But what is that ratio? Is what I'm asking.
profit, right? And that ratio is different depending on the context of your business and your objective, right? But what I would say is if you get more money than it cost you, it's probably worth it unless the back end requires other pieces that make it not worth it. So it's important to know those numbers of what you're comfortable spending and what you expect. It's what we call our thresholds. So I think a better question isn't like how much more of a return do I want, but how much am I willing to spend on this campaign without getting a return? That's the better question, right? If I know my cost per acquisition is typically $500 and I have a campaign doing that and I test something else and the cost per acquisition is $1,000, why would I waste my money on that? I'd rather spend it on the one that I'm doing. So it's more important to know what metric will determine the success and how much you're willing to test on that ad. Like once it passes a certain number, I shut the ad off, for example. Does that make sense? You got a question? Yeah, I'll get you both. So either.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I was just asking, do you utilize sales funnels, and if so,
100%.
How like successful have they been, or what are some?
Yeah, so that's our main business. We build out sales funnels for coaches, consultants, and agencies. And sales funnels are really best for booking sales calls, right? So the mistake a lot of people make is, you're good. The mistake a lot of people make is they'll send people to like a website. And they're like, my ad's not converting. And it's like a website, the goal is to provide information. It's not optimized for a specific outcome. A funnel is removing every variable except for the one we want to accomplish. So what we do, and I'll show you guys an example of a funnel here real quick, that we've done. So this is a funnel we've done 7 figures with. So I'll show you the formula that we've built over 400. This is the formula that's worked the best for us. So typically what we'll do is we'll send people like this to a landing page. I don't know where the camera is. And then what we'll do is instead of sending them to like a calendar link or an application page where a majority of people don't fill it out, we send them to a landing page and we get their name, email, phone number first. That way, no matter what, we have their contact info, right? Because a lot of people, they'll send them to like a website or calendar link or an application page, and 80 to 90% of people typically don't fill it out. And so if they don't fill it out, you have nothing to do with that lead. So before we send them wherever we want to send them, we get their information first. That way, even if they don't fill it out, which a lot of them don't, we can follow up with them, right? But what happens after they give us their info is we'll send them to a page like this one, right? So after they fill that out, then it takes them to this page. This page has a VSL, it's basically, for anyone that doesn't know, a video sales letter that basically explains who you are, what you do, how you can help. This video really, really helps to warm up your lead. Get them to have a better idea of why they should speak with you. And then what we'll typically have is the book a call link or application page on this section, right? But when they gave us their name, email, phone number on the previous page, what it does is it triggers what's called an automation sequence. So basically, while they're still on my website, they'll get a text. Hey, Susie, this is Jackson. I see you're on my website right now. How can I help? So we have a real in-time conversation starting with them at the height of impulse. And then they'll respond, and we either have AI that will respond back to them and book them on our calendar, or that will trigger to our back-end CRM where we have an appointment setter whose job is to book them on our calendar. What we found, 90% of our sales calls come from the automation. It's not from the application or booking page, right? But let's say they don't respond to that text, right? Maybe their phone's charging. 24 hours later, ding, another text. Hey, what's up, Susie? It's Jackson, just circling back. Really would love to find a time to help you out. And it'll keep doing that. It'll keep following them up to whatever sequence we set. We could set that sequence 3 years out if we wanted to, right? And so having a sales funnel for anyone that's running a high-ticket service, it can double your results because most people take at least 7 touch points before they actually ever buy from you, right? But if you're paying all this money for leads, let's say you're spending 10 grand a month and your average lead is $10, you're getting 1,000 leads. Do you think you have the time to sit there and message 1,000 people? Hell no. Right? So you want to, that's the type of stuff you want to automate with AI, but not with the goal of having AI sell them, but having AI just get them on a phone call with someone that can sell them. And then now, let's say you're running ads, it's $10 a lead, right? You get, 1 in 10 people to book a call, that's a $100 book call. If you get 1 in 5 people to buy, your cost per acquisition is $500. If you have a $5,000 offer, you just pocketed $4,500 that you can reinvest back in, and that's how we scale these businesses. Right? Any questions on any of that? Yeah.
Do you have a CRM that does a lot of the AI chatbot?
Yeah, so that's essentially what our business is. We just do this all for our clients. We're not like a coaching offer. It's a completely done for you service.
Right.
If anyone wants to talk about that, I'd be happy to see if it makes sense for your business or not after this. But that's the general idea is like, we just do all that work for our clients so they can just focus on the other areas they're good at. You got a question?
So let's say I already have like all the contact information for like 10,000 leads. I have the contact information, phone number, all that stuff. What I need is to get them to actually move on it, right? So would it make sense to send that, like add an email with that embedded video and information to send directly to them? Yeah,
so this is a funnel that we're pointing them to from an ad or from a piece of content, right? So if you're trying to hit your current list, that's what you would do in the back end, what we call a CRM, what is CRM? Doesn't someone know what CRM stands for? It's like customer thing. I should know that. But a CRM, right, where you manage all those people on the back end. And then the cool thing about having a CRM where you get all these people contact info is if you ever want to test a new product, you can roll it out to your list. So what we did is we initially were just pushing his business, right? And then what we did is we started marketing it through email, and we started getting really good results. Our cost per acquisition on a 5 to 10K offer was like $400. When with our ads, it was like $1,200. So what we did is we're like, I think we might be onto something. This could be its own business. So what we did is we went to our list of, a couple thousand people, and we're just like, hey guys, we just, here's the results we're getting with this current campaign. We want to do a beta test with a couple clients at a discount. If anyone's interested, just shoot us a message back. We'd be happy to see if this makes sense for your business. We got like 15 people that were interested. Right, so this is the other reason why I highly recommend having that first page be where you get their contact info. Because even if that person doesn't buy, well, guess what? One of the people we booked a call with, the last time we talked to her? 3 years ago, right? And guess what? She was in the same position, right? So now we can be on a call with her and be like, look, I can't remember her name, Suzanne, right? You're in the exact same place you were 3 years ago, right? It's time to take action, or else we're going to be having this conversation in another 3 years. Right? And that's why it's so important to have these situations where you follow up with these people. And when we can automate a lot of it, right, we can either do that where it's automated or pick any holiday and use it as an excuse to run a sale, right? Black Friday, Mother's Day, 4th of July sale, right? Whenever you want to get new business, you hit your list and use that as a reason why they should get on a call with you and consider your services again. Because people's situations change. I got a sale this last week. There's a girl I talked to a month ago. She was like, I don't know, like I really got to think about it. And then guess what? She went out there, didn't do anything, right? A month and a half later, we're having the same conversation. Why? Because we followed up with her. Hey, we wanted to see, did you figure out a solution? Let us help you, right? Now, we had AI do that for us, so we didn't have to, but we also have people do it too. So it really just comes down to your business, how much of that connection. If you already have a personal relationship with someone, I recommend doing that manually. I wouldn't do it with an automation because it comes off inauthentic. But if it's just another person in your CRM, like it definitely helps a lot. And this stuff is really powerful because let's say it improves your results by 40%. Well, that's your profit margin right there. That might be the difference between having a profitable cost per acquisition and not. Right? So it's really important to inevitably build out these systems. However, I would only recommend building a funnel if you already either have lead flow or have at least, honestly, 15 grand to invest into marketing. If not, it doesn't make sense to build out a system that'll automate your lead flow. All that money needs to go into generating leads. Because why are you worried about conversions when you don't even have anything to convert? Does that make sense? Cool. So yeah, anyone that wants help on exploring outbound, this is like the main stuff I do. I am not on the right thing. Here we go.
Question.
Yeah, what's up?
So you talk a lot about outbound and clarifying things. How do you clarify the audience you're targeting? And I understand the importance of this because a buddy of mine has an upholstery business who he reaches out when he's low on business on Facebook or Instagram to restaurants on the strip. And 1 to 2 times out of 10, because restaurant managers are so swamped with problems, they say, I need help reupholstering the furniture because all the furniture was custom built for the strip restaurant, so it's cheaper to reupholster than tear out the whole thing. And so literally, 1 to 2 times out of 10, he gets business.
That's a really good rate. If I was him, I'd have someone whose full job is to just do that.
It's insane. The reason why he doesn't do it so often is because he's already full of business because he has people actually working on things.
Yeah.
So how do you, so he jackpotted into the specific target audience to the point where he started furniture building for carpentry because the customer demanded it. How do you clarify finding the specific micro audience to pick, which for him he lucked into with strip restaurants? Any tips on that?
So my recommendation is it's testing, right? So I'll use my business as an example, right? So one quick clarification I'll make with outbound. If you're B2C, don't even touch it, right? Why? Because it's the context of how that person is being contacted. Businesses are used to being solicited. But let's say you have your market, you make a list of like, who is the person that is going to pay me the most for this and is most likely to need this. And the more specific we can refine that, the better. Now, to start, we might have a general idea. So like, for example, with us, we knew that our email offer worked with our funnel offer, email outbound worked with our funnel offer, but we're like, honestly, this could work for any B2B business. So our initial market was high ticket B2B services. And then guess what? We went out, we got a dozen clients, and we started getting back data. We found executive coaches, flops. So we're staying away from that market now, right? And then what happened is we got that guy to capacity, and I started looking into some other, hiring some additional people that we brought on recently, and I'd have them all send me their analytics. And what I found was all of them got the best results with SaaS companies and agencies. So now we're like, okay, we just serve mainly SaaS companies and agencies, right? Or, it's not to say we won't work with markets outside of that, but that's primarily where we're putting our focus in our marketing efforts. Right? So you start as specific as you can. It can start a little more broad, but then you let the data refine over time. Start testing different markets, right? You need at least, you need a good sample size depending on the platform, right? At a bare minimum of 1,000, but probably really ideally you want 10,000 to have like accurate data, right? But you'll kind of know, like if you aren't getting any responses, it's much different. If you have a good campaign, it'll pick up relatively quickly. And so that's what I'd say. It's just you test. You look at the data and you adjust. And use that data to make a better hypothesis. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Cool. Any other questions on outbound? No? All right, cool. So next up we have ads, our favorite topic. Woo! Right? So when it comes to advertising, I'm not going to really touch on billboards and stuff like that. That type of traditional media isn't what I focus on. I'm talking solely social media today. So there's pretty much, 4 main places, right? There's Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram. There's YouTube. There's TikTok. You can even do things on Snapchat, LinkedIn. Those are kind of the main platforms, right? Now, pros to ads, the most scalable strategy, right? Ads are the easiest to find enough people to reach. You have a winning campaign, you just spend more money and you'll get more leads, right? The cons is it's typically more expensive. Why? Because the algorithm's trying to guess who to show you to, right? With outbound, we're curating a specific targeted list of just our target market. So we know anyone that replies is someone that could be a good client, right? Versus ads, it's an algorithm trying to learn who our target market is. It's almost like, imagine like a bloodhound has a scent and is trying to find that prey or person, whoever it's chasing down, right? That's why I always say start with outbound first, because if we can give it that lead list, it has a much stronger scent that it can use to find the right people,
it's
right?
Like machine learning with AI.
Yeah.
The more clues you give it, the closer you can come up with the correct formula, the easier results will be for it to refine.
Exactly, right? The more data you have, the stronger hypothesis you have. Right? So we can create what are called lookalike audiences, which is basically going, hey, here's 100,000 coaches and consultants. Find the top 1% of people on Facebook like these people, right? So now Facebook already has a lot of data to work with, and its predictive engines can start to go to work on finding those people, right? There's also AI tools you can use that will do a lot of this stuff. I can't speak on that specifically. Like I said, I got another guy handling our media buying that's managed much more than I have, right? So always hire talent, right? Ads are definitely the best route to go if you're B2C. Like I said, outreach is a little harder just because of the context of someone being contacted, right? Like if I reach out to a coach, I'm like, hey, I was looking at your landing page. I saw some things you could improve. That's much different than if you're, say, like a personal trainer and I'm like, hey, I think you really need to lose some weight, right? So obviously there's different contexts. There's ways you can do it with B2C that still work for outbound, but typically it's much harder just from the context of how people are being contacted. So if you're B2C and you're looking to grow, definitely advertising is the best bet. And so here's the biggest thing. I touched on this a little before. with ads that people always mess up. It's like, you know, if I was like, hey, give me 25 grand and I'll give you 250, would you do it? 250 grand.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, right? But if you gave me 20,000 and I gave you, you know, 10,000, would you do it? No, right? So people go spend $20,000 on ads. They'd be like, I only made 10 back. This doesn't work, right? But can we all agree that ads are probably working for some people out there, right? So is it the platform issue or is it a skill set issue, right? Or maybe it's a resource issue, right? And so that's the number one thing. Like people, we've all been burnt by marketers. I've been burnt by marketers. But a lot of times, it's not even that the marketer burned you. It's that you ran out of money before they could find something that works. So my biggest thing I would say with ads is it's kind of like gambling. Only spend money you can afford to lose. If that money is covering your rent or your utilities or something that is a non-negotiable, then you're not ready for advertising, right? Ads need to be a long-term investment where I'm like, if this takes 100 grand to find a winner, it is what it is, because that winner could make you $500,000 and then it's super worth it. So that's the biggest thing I'd say with ads, right? Is make sure that whatever money you spend, you're going, I'm investing this into my business. It's an investment. It's not an expense, right? And it's a different mindset, because even if you spend $5,000 and you don't get a sale, well, now you have data on what's not working, right? You have data on what parts of it worked. You can use that data to run stronger ads. Yeah.
Two-parter. When you say find a winner, is that defined as like you're getting a CAC that's low enough that it's like better than your other channels?
Profitable CAC is what I would do. For anyone that doesn't know, CAC is just cost per acquisition, like what it costs to acquire a client, right? So that's the other reason why people typically do bad with ads, is they don't know what metrics to track and they don't know what their threshold is, right? So if you know, okay, my offer is 10 grand, my profit margin is whatever, 70%, so I pocket 7. What's the most I'm willing to pay outside of that 7 to still have a client?
And does that, second part of that, how does that then relate to LTV? So say if you get a profitable CAC, or maybe not even a profitable CAC, how do you then inform this stuff by, say you buy a $10,000 product, that should be like a one-time buy. There's probably different messages or different things you could, as you said at the start, market, say anything. There's something you could say to get someone to buy, but they might only buy once. Versus like, have you had any examples where they buy once and it works, but that's not good long-term, versus it's a little bit more expensive to get this client, but then they stay 5 times longer? So
that's really what we're transitioning to now. Because what happened with our business is we scaled to 50 grand a month, but the type of clients that have been buying our services, you know, will buy it once and then we're good, and then they either it works or they run out of money, and we're just waiting for them to get money so we can keep working it, right? So what we've moved to now is more of a reoccurring model, right? Where we do a revenue share.
Or recurring?
Recurring. Yeah, I always get those confused. So recurring is when it's continual.
Like subscription.
Yeah, subscription, right? And then reoccurring is when it's kind of, right? Either or, right? Whichever one makes sense for your business. For us, we do profit shares, or we do per book call rate, right? So you're either paying us per book call if it's on the outbound side, or rev share. So it'll be like 15% rev share split, right? So the first, and honestly, I highly recommend, if you can, to move to that model, because the issue I've ran into is we hit that 50K a month mark, then we brought a team on to scale, but now that we have more hands in the pot, now we don't have as much money left over to keep scaling, and so we're just doing enough to sustain our current output, and so it's hard to compound, versus if we were getting 10, 15% rev share on the, you know, hundreds of clients we signed up, imagine what money we'd be making without having to get more clients. We aren't stuck in this constant treadmill of playing the high ticket conversion game.
And your incentives are aligned with that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting? Fun fact. So with our offer, when we added in the rev share, our conversion rate went up, because they're like, now I know that you actually care about this performing, which was really interesting.
Well, we can go down with it, but I suppose maybe because you're asking for more money.
So we're asking for the same up front, but we're like, but we do a percentage of the revenue on the back end. And we were like, we'll test it out, we'll see what happens. And you know what people are saying on the call? They're like, I actually like that you take a percentage, because I know that you actually have a financial interest for this to work.
And you didn't change your upfront costs. But so it's like, it's 10 grand to do it, and then you keep all the profit.
Yeah.
It was better for you to say it's 10 grand to do it, and we get 10% of the profit.
Exactly.
It went up.
It went up.
Oh, that's so counterintuitive.
Because they're like, oh wow, this guy actually cares.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, he already got paid. You know, because our guarantee is we'll work with you until we add up to 50K a month in revenue. But when we tested that, it actually went up because people were like, you know what, I actually like that because I know that you know you're actually invested in this paying out. You're not just getting paid and then being like, I already made my money, right?
That's very
Yeah.
So you make that payment up front, and then you would do reoccurring, you pay the same amount again?
So we do a rev share, so it's performance basis, right? So we're saying like, hey, you pay us up front for our services, and then we'll do everything, and then on the back end, you give us a percentage of the revenue it generates. And we're like, let's test it out, because the problem we've had is like we're getting good sales, but like we get that sale once, and then now what, right? Like we did our job, right? And so now every single month I'm consistently grinding to get more money in the door, and basically where I've been stuck is I'm in my business, right? I have a glorified day job with a bunch of volatility, right? Versus like, you know, if I'm now every single client, it's almost like having a little equity in a business, right? And so now I'm building a book of business that over time is going to compound. And then, you know, maybe 1 in 20 businesses really takes off. Like one of our top clients, they're doing $1 million a month. Imagine if we're getting 15% rev share on that. We wouldn't need any more clients, right? And so I always recommend, if you can go the high ticket route, figure out how to add some sort of reoccurring or recurring model on the back end. That will increase your LTV, and then that gives you more money. Now you can have a higher cost per acquisition, right? Because whoever spends the most is the one that's going to win. It's whoever can outbid the competition. Yeah.
What do you think about the master resale rights? Have you
Oh, those types of courses?
Yeah, I have those courses. Like, what
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, basically what a master resale right is people like make a course and then give people the rights to resell it. I have mixed opinions on it. I think it's a good starter business to learn what you're doing. I think it's hard if you're doing that with no experience, because now you're marketing yourself as like, hey, I'm a marketing expert, come buy my marketing course, but you're not really an expert, you're just competing with the next person. So the people that get in early will work, but the moment that market gets saturated, it stops working. You're better off finding something that you're actually an expert on, and then, you know, what I recommend is finding someone else that's an expert at it that can do all the fulfillment, and then you understand it enough to help people buy it. Like I could go run my ads, I could go build funnels, I could go do all that, but then I'm servicing my clients and I can't get more. Versus now, all I do is go speak, I'm on podcasts, I'm out networking, and I can bring more in the pipeline, and then I have people that are world class on the back end to handle all of that stuff, and it's much more sustainable.
So the data that you have, for instance, so I've worked in data pretty much all my life. But I think like usually where there's a gap is that people, so let's say now you have your list of established customers. So what do you do with this? Do you make it dynamic, for instance, where you want to look and see if you can further market them because you know probably their behavior, you also know maybe their age, their profession, and then you can repeat that list?
Yeah, so when you have a funnel, there's this thing on a funnel, it's called a pixel. And basically what a pixel is, it's a little line of code that collects the data of everyone that comes through that funnel. So what happens is over time, as you market more, your pixel gets more data. And you can use that pixel to have more effective advertising. So that's what I mean about advertising a lot of times is really an investment, because Facebook's trying to guess who to show it to you. But when your pixel has the data of 10,000 people going through your funnel, now when you launch a new creative from scratch, it's going to perform much better than if you did that exact same creative without the pixel.
Right, because a lot of times people spend time on acquisition versus that they don't look at what they already have and try to either retain or remarket the people.
And that's the big mistake we made. We went and got 400 clients, but it still is a grind month to month because I get a client, but then, okay, I got paid once, now what? Right? And so that's why we moved over the last couple months to more of a rev share model, because we realized like we need to get some sort of reoccurring revenue or else I'm going to be on this treadmill forever. Right?
So I have a question about market validation. So when you started with Facebook, as you just mentioned, like you don't know who they're going to show your ads to. And also it's very hard to gauge. One, you don't have an experience with ads because like you don't have a business yet, so you don't even have the business model yet. You're just trying to figure out market validation for an idea. So you start with Facebook ads, and in the beginning, they just shoot roads to everyone. your one random copy. So my question is, how do you gauge how long to run this, and when do you adapt it and run some totally different copy, because you don't have any numbers to work with?
Yeah, and that's part of what I say, where at first you're investing in data. So the first 90 days of every marketing campaign isn't about really being profitable. It's about getting enough data so you at least have something to compare it to, right? And then it's about looking at this data, understanding each step of the customer journey, and looking for where is the bottleneck in this customer journey. What I like about what you said, which is something I highly recommend for people, is using advertising for market validation. So a mistake a lot of people make is they'll spend, 6 months making this really awesome product, and then they go out and find out no one wants it, right? What I highly recommend is having some sort of minimum viable product, and then going and testing marketing until you find a winning ad. Because you can always scale that up. It's much harder to find a winning ad because people want your offer, than it is to, because if you just have to make a product from scratch, you might waste 6 months of your time, right?
Also social proof.
Mm-hmm.
So you gathering all the interest of people through ads, and when people see it, it's like, oh, social proof. That is something. 100%, 100%.
So I work also in that industry, and the big concern that I had, like I was in fintech, right, was marketing to minors. So how do you know, and what is the kind of like the policy or the guideline?
Yeah.
Because when you are on TikTok or whatever social media, you could be selling to someone who's a minor.
Yeah.
Potentially there could be a risk because there's no way you can.
So I can't speak on the specific terms of service policies on each individual platforms. What I can say is you can be very specific on your interest targeting on any of these platforms. So I can target based off of demographic, specific interest, age, location. I could target, like for example, I could run an ad right now for everyone in a 2-mile square radius of Tech Alley. Be like, hey, what's up guys? My name is Jaxon. I got 300 million views. I'm doing a free speech. If you want to come over, head down the street. I'm right down the street from you, right? Now, when it comes specifically to minors, I know some platforms I don't even think let you advertise. I can't speak on that specifically, but what I would say is any platform, they'll have all that information in their terms of service. Yeah.
Do you change your advertising strategy if you're, whatever you beat it from a particular situation?
Yeah.
See,
yeah.
When the economy changes,
yeah.
When it's market sensitive, you adjust your advertising?
Yeah, so it's all case by case, right? So like I said, I think it all, at the end of the day, comes back to only spend money that you're comfortable losing. And then it's about knowing what you're willing to spend for that outcome. If the ad passes what you're willing to spend for a specific outcome, you turn it off and you test another one with whatever your remaining budget is. Right? So what I recommend is if you're like, oh, I have $1,000 a month to spend and I'm willing to pay up to $500 to get a client, the moment that ad passed $500 without a sale, you turn it off. And then you test another ad with whatever remaining budget you have until you find a winner. Then you have that winning ad, let's say it's a $200 cost per acquisition, you might be able to scale that one ad to $250,000 in revenue, right? So it's markets, all that stuff, none of that is in our control. What's in our control is knowing your numbers and making decisions and having the thought process predetermined before you even start, understanding the scientific method and what your threshold is. That's really what it's about. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Back to what his question was, and I think part of this is going is, don't you also monitor the thresholds and the metrics?
100%.
Successful advertising.
Yeah.
To make sure that you've got positive trend lines, and then if one starts negatively trending, then you start looking, okay.
Always be testing, right? So the mistake people make is, let's say they have a winning ad, they're like, I'm going to just ride this ad out. The biggest thing is to constantly be testing new creative. If you have something that's working, I'd put probably like 80% of your budget into that, and then have 15 to 20% that's literally for just trying shit. Right? Just any idea you have, you're like, let's just see what happens, right? Because 1 out of 10 of those things you try is going to outperform the 80% of your ad spend, and then you shift your budget.
Do you recommend making that yourself? If I'm not a designer, do you recommend like trying random stuff in the beginning, making yourself in Canva, or just going on Fiverr or doing something else and hiring someone to quickly like make you some creatives?
I'd say it's specific on your situation, right? Like if you're to the point where you're like having to hire someone like in India or something because you don't have a large enough budget, I would put 100% of your focus into organic methods that don't cost money until you have money where you can either hire talent or it's not to say guys like that can't do a good job.
I'm talking video. I'm talking more like banner, like on Facebook or like on Instagram, just like plain like graphical, because that's low cost. You can get someone of Fiverr for $20 to make you creative. Do you think that could be effective? Or like just
it depends on your skill set, right? Like if you're good at creative, make it. If you're not, outsource it. Just know that whatever your budget is, you got to be comfortable losing that. That's all I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. We got another question? No, you're good.
So marketing is kind of a wide range of different things, right?
Yeah.
You have branding, you have your outbound, you have SEO, all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were starting from scratch, you had to decide, okay, I need to create a whole marketing campaign. I need to know what I'm going to go with it, where I'm going to go with this. Where would you start? Would you start with SEO?
So it depends on a couple different factors, what your current resources are, your niche, your budget. I'll dive into that in like a couple slides. I have for each situation what to do. Okay. So I'll go into that in a second. Real quick, do we have any other questions on advertising specifically? All right, cool. So I'll go to that in a minute because I have a slide about something like that, right? So next we have networking, right? So networking is amazing because it's free. Did anyone pay to come here today? No. And guess what? You might get a connection here that changes your business or your life or get you a client. Right? I've done, multiple six figures from networking, right? I've gone to probably 400 or 500 networking events, right? So it's a great way. I think it's important to be clear about who your market is though, right? So what I do is I actually track the metrics behind how many events did I go to, how many contacts did I get, how many of them got on a call, how many of them bought. And if I find a strategy isn't working, I pivot. For example, I have a commission-based outbound team. There's 6 of us. I had them going to online networking events. Last month, I had them each go to 2 events a day on average. We went to 180 events in a month. We booked 102 calls. And guess how many sales we got? 2. 1. Oh. 1 sale, right? But if you looked at my data, I could be like, dude, we booked 100 calls. It's working amazing. But when you actually look at the data, we came to the determination that these are vanity metrics. At the end of the day, we can get on a call with 1 million people and have a conversation. If they don't have any money, that's not where our market is, right? And even if we get a one-off sale every now and then, it's people that are giving us their last $5,000, and it's like, that's just not who we want to work with. We could put the same amount of energy into a client that pays us 10 grand a month and actually get them results because they have something we can do, right? So it's important to consider that. Networking is a great way to get clients. I really recommend networking if you're just trying to get some money in the door, and just do it in general. I view it almost like a workout routine. Like minimum I go to 1 event a week, but I try to go to 3 to 5, just so I'm in the mix, just so I can meet people, just so my name is around. And like I said, where this paid dividends, the cool thing about all these strategies is they're synergistic, right? So I've been networking for 2 years in Vegas, and guess what happened when I started putting out content again a couple weeks ago? Now all of a sudden, all these people come out the woodworks from my network because they realize that my brand's about to blow up. I've been posting for 2 weeks. I've already gotten over 150,000 views. Like, oh wow, this guy has traction. I want to work with him. And I've had 3 or 4 opportunities presented to me that I didn't chase. It was people from my network that already knew me getting introduced to me again. Right? So that's why I always recommend have some sort of networking, especially in Vegas, right? Like if you're in Delaware, okay, yeah, maybe not, right? But if you're in Vegas, you have a unique opportunity in this community where it's got the, it's got the influence of like an LA or a San Francisco or a Miami, but it's much smaller. The amount of people here that have real opportunity, just at Tech Alley is a great example, you're not going to find that in some other places, right? And so when you get in these rooms, everyone knows someone that knows someone. I think it's important to just actually have something of value and know what you're looking for, right? If you do that, that's really the key to networking. Any questions on networking? Pretty straightforward. You got a question?
It would be fun to do like, because I was just talking to the guy that owns this place.
Yeah.
Doing an after party. So that's going to be like this reality show.
Yeah.
That we do. It's going to become this after party in Vegas. And
Yeah.
and have some things we're doing with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, real pro tip, use networking as a lead magnet, right? So what I mean by that, if anyone does anyone here not know what a lead magnet is? Basically, a lead magnet is an asset that attracts attention from your target market. So this could be, if you're a personal trainer, maybe it's like, hey, here's a recipe book I did that helps you lose 20 pounds, right? If I'm a marketer, hey, here's a free custom marketing plan, right? One of the ones I'm testing right now, since I'm going after agencies, is I started a Facebook group, which is a mastermind for agency owners. So I cold outreach to 50 agency owners a day. I'm like, hey, from what I've seen, I think you'd be a great fit for this mastermind we're putting together. I have some 7 and 8 figure agencies in here. It could be a good chance to network, connect, and discuss lead generation tactics. And so now I go reach out to 50 people. I might get 10 that are interested in joining, and I use that as an icebreaker to start a conversation with them. So a great way to leverage networking events as well is to throw your own one. And I'm not like renting out a venue. I'm using a Zoom link, right? It cost me $0.
So do you think, what I think, do you think there's a shift where before people are more responsive when they were using technology, and now there's more value when you actually meet people face to face through networking? Or do you think it's the same as always?
So at the end of the day, this is the order of highest probability of conversion. In person, because you're face to face. Then we have Zoom, phone call, and then email, text, all the others. Right? So the more connected you are, you can feel my energy. You can see if I'm full of shit right now, right? Versus if you're responding to an email, you might not know anything about me. You don't even know if it's me, right? It might be AI, right? So the more personable you can be, the higher probability of conversion, no matter what vertical you're in.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here, what I'm taking here is the more personal you are, the more effective it is. But it also conveys, and getting back to what he's saying, though it takes you more time to be personal in person, etc. And so you have less contact with less people.
Yeah.
And you have to balance these two figures against
Exactly.
each other.
Yeah, and that's why it's an art, right? Marketing is an art. All of this is an art, right? Because there's a balance of personalization. With the more personalized it is, the less scalable it is, right? And so what I recommend is try to figure out how to scale the unscalable. Try to figure out these things, the more personal they are, instead of just being like, I can only do so much, you go, how could I do this more, right? Because all anything is it's like, especially with outbound, for example, it's the formula is how personalized is the lead, like how quality is the lead, and how personalized is the outreach message. Those are the two things that we're trying to optimize for, because if I was like, for example, if I was like, hey guys, I can help you grow on social media, right? Okay, well, what's my competition? There's a million people that could help you with that. But if I'm like, hey, I help lawn care specialists add an extra 10 clients per month by optimizing their website to show up in the search ranks, right? Now, if you're a lawn care guy, you're like, oh, this is the guy I need to speak with, right? So the more niche, the better, and then dominate that niche and then expand from there as it makes sense. Yeah. What's up?
Sorry, another thing.
Yeah.
You've been talking a lot about hypothesis, which is part of the scientific theorem, which is you take the hypothesis and you test against the evidence.
Yep.
And if it proves correct, then you have a theory.
Yes.
But then you're also talking about how marketing is more of an art than a science.
It's the blend of art and science.
Well, or allow me to rephrase, but I think the difference is between when something's art versus a science, in terms of scientific principles, when there's so many variables and complexity that you can't scientifically manage it all, it's an art.
Yeah, so all marketing is an art and a science. The art is the creative is the number one thing that will make it perform. The science aspect of it is what do you do after it doesn't, right? And so you could throw a bunch of shit at the wall and something sticks and you're like, cool, I got lucky, this makes sense, right? But the way we guarantee results is by following that scientific method, right? So that's what I'd say is it's about tracking your data, making sure you have enough data, and then making sure you have good creative. A majority of the time, if you're not getting results, it's because your creative isn't good enough, right? Cool, so next one we have referrals. Right? So referrals are a really good way to get clients for your business. There's really there's a couple different types of referrals, right? So there's your clients referring people to you. So, hey, I had a great experience with Stacy. She gave me a really amazing massage. Susie, you should go to Stacy, right? Then we have friends and family. So when you're just getting off the ground, tapping into your network to just get some initial sales, get the ball going. And then we have complementary services or white labeling, right? So if I'm a chiropractor, let me think of a good example, right? Like, let's say I went to a chiropractor clinic. You know what they did at that clinic? They had chiropractic, they had massage therapy, and they had acupuncture, right? 3 separate services all in the same clinic, right? So people would come for acupuncture and then sign up for chiropractic and massage. Or what happened with me is they ended up giving me all 3, right? Because it was a full-scale regimen. So one of the ways you can grow your business is really efficient is find other people that are already serving your target market in a different way, right? So I'm a marketing company, right? So what did I do? I paired an ads guy with a funnel guy, right? Because if you're running ads, you need a funnel. And if you build a funnel, you need ads, right? So now they're cross-promoting services. We combine them all together in one, and now it's a very unique offer, right? So highly recommend. This is a great way you can get off the ground, get some good referrals in the door, is find a way for people to either get a referral commission for sending someone to you because their target market is going to pay someone for that with or without you anyways, or get them to add it as their own service and they can provide more value for their market.
Are you drawing a big differentiation between organic and referrals, or is referrals more just filling out your product line?
What do you mean by organic?
Your first bullet point.
What do you mean drawing a difference?
Are referrals organic? Is organic just...
No, organic is organic. Referrals are people that are being referred to you. Mm-hmm. Organic is someone discovering your content and then coming to you.
So organic's not your network that you're
No, network is networking, right? So there's 5 ways to get clients. Organic, advertising, outbound, networking, and referrals. Those are the 5 ways. Referrals are basically people sending people to you, right? And I'll dive in on the next side to referrals, but here's one recommendation I would make for anybody, regardless of if referrals are your main strategy. I would start by sweeping your warm network when you're just getting started, and if you're finding people are sending you a lot of referrals, lean into that, right? Because at the very least, there's some people in your warm market that can get some money in the door that might give you the ad budget you need, right? But if you find you're trying to get referrals from your network and it's not really working out, chances are if you can't even get referrals from your warm network, how are you going to get it from cold people or from other people? It's going to be a little more difficult, right? Also, one way you can get good referrals to start is start by working for free, right? If you're just getting off the ground, you might need some testimonials. They might not be sending referrals because they're like, why can I trust this person can do the job, right? And so if you're just getting started, I would recommend that. Try getting some referrals for free, just get your ball going, get some testimonials, or do it at a drastic discount. So for example, with our email offer, what we did at first is we're like, hey, we want to roll this out to a couple people at a 50% discount on a beta launch so we can just get some data and some feedback. If you're willing to do this, we're getting really good results, but we're willing to give it to you at a discount. And so I took that as an offer, and I went to my friend Nathan, the guy that we got results for, and he blasted out that offer to his CRM, and we got 15 people interested in speaking with us. So, does that answer your question?
I'm still not super clear then on what the differentiation to be organic is.
Between organic and what?
And referrals.
Organic is content. So that's posting on TikTok, YouTube. Referrals are people sending people to you.
Yourself. That's organic.
Yeah.
The people that referred you are the organic ones.
Yeah, so you could say referrals are still organic marketing. When I say organic, let me say I mean organic content. So maybe instead of saying organic content is what I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that clears it up.
Cool. Awesome. Any other questions on referrals?
On that topic, so let's say your business is just getting off the ground and you don't have a team of trust.
Yeah.
You know that the technology might move at speed, customer service never will.
Yeah.
You're trying to do it for the long term. What happens when you're organic and you're marketing and everything hits, but now you're like, crap.
I got to deliver.
I don't have 50 cool people that want to help me with my journey.
Yeah, so what I would say is you need to have a good product. If you don't have a good product, it doesn't matter how good your marketing is. Even if the marketing works, you're building your house on sand.
But I mean, let's say you got a great product, but you're one guy in a garage with maybe 3 friends that are on the fence and they don't spend any money or time. What happens when you blow up, but now you can't fulfill?
You hire talent. So if your friends aren't willing to commit, then you don't have a good product, right?
How do you get comfortable in your gut saying, now I'm just going to trust everyone in this room with my company?
You hire people with experience. You know why I trust my results? Because I'm working with a guy that's managed $500 million in ad spend.
Yeah, but you're there. That's what I'm saying. You're teaching us where we're...
Yeah, but I didn't manage $500 million. I found a guy that did.
I guess I asked the wrong question.
Here's what I would say is The easiest way to build a business is to find people that already have something that's selling and that already have a track record of producing results. The hardest thing to do is create a good product. So what I've found is, even if I create a good product, I still have to go market it, right? So why don't I just go find someone that already has a product that's so good that it's spreading through word of mouth? Right. And then I don't have to second guess whether or not it's going to work.
So is this just for digital products?
This is for anything. It is for any business, right? Ideally, I'm speaking mostly on high-ticket businesses, but the same principles apply no matter what it is you're selling. Does that make sense? Yeah, because the biggest mistake I made was trying to do everything. I was trying to do the lead gen, the sales, the fulfillment, the accounting, and I made money. I was making 30 grand a month, but guess what? It wasn't sustainable, right? It was sustainable when I had 5 clients, but I had my marketing working. I got up to 50, and I became a prisoner to my business. The success wasn't worth it because I have all this anxiety. I'm like, I'm not delivering for this person, but this person is working. And like, how do I manage all of this? Versus now, all I have to do is find people that need these things. That's the only thing I got to do.
You have to find people that need things? Is that what you said?
Need, right? So instead of me having to do, I really break business up into 3 departments. You have lead gen, sales, fulfillment. If you're just getting started, find someone that's already good at fulfillment. You can skip the entire process of having to do market research and validation, right? And you can find these people everywhere. Go on Upwork, go on Fiverr, go on these platforms, search by top rated, right? So what we did when we started expanding our email team is we went and we're like, who are the top 10 email guys we could find? And then we interviewed all of them, and then now we're bringing them in our ecosystem, and we're doing test runs with them. So we're not saying, congrats, you're our email guy. We're saying, let's send you one guy and see how you do, right? And then if that goes well, we'll send you another and another and another until they become your guy over time. But what we're doing is we're telling them like, hey, we're testing you, but we're also testing this guy. And we're going to cross-compare results because you can tell us all day what you can do. At the end of the day, show me, right? And especially with marketing, at the end of the day, I don't care what someone has done. I care about what do you do when it doesn't work. That's what I'm looking for. Because it's a probability game. I don't care how good of a marketer you are. No one can guarantee 100% that it's going to work because that's like guaranteeing you're going to win on sports betting 100% of the time, right? That's not the reality. It's a probability game. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is if you're new to the game, use a product affiliate to build your team, and then once you get your product where you can link and log it,
exactly. Like if you're trying to start your own business, go find someone that's already successful because guess what? What's the key to the sales piece of that? The key to selling something is conviction. If you genuinely believe you can do something, that will work better than any script or tactic or anything. It's about your belief in the product. So instead of trying to build a product from scratch that you hopefully believe in, it's much easier to just go do a bunch of market research and find the thing you believe in the most and scream it from the rooftops.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
Well, the other part, back to his question too. Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, there are resources available to help you fill in the gaps where you have them. So, for example, if you've got a business and you need people helping produce product, you might check a small business resource for temp agency to see if you can't get people to do.
I got a better resource for you. It's called Google. Right? Type in top person at da-da-da-da-da and reach out to the top 100 people. People don't want to do the homework. They go, yeah, this guy seems all right. I'll give him a shot. No, fuck that. I'm going to go talk to the top 100 people because guess what? It might take me an extra 40 hours to find the right guy, but if I find the wrong guy, that's going to cost me months or years.
So make the hiring process a game.
The hiring like having a good product is better than any marketing or sales strategy. I don't care how good you are at marketing or sales. If you have a shitty product, even if you find marketing that works, it won't last because your marketing's working. Well, guess what? Now you have all these people that are going out and spreading the word about how shitty your product is, right? And it's a process of reiteration, right? Don't beat yourself up if something starts or stops working. Things inevitably evolve. Yeah. Chick-fil-A is successful. They've also been around for 60 years.
Yeah, but they only started with the one thing.
Yeah, exactly, right? Eliminate variables, find talent. That's really what I care about now. Like I could get good results for my clients, but I realized at a certain point the bottleneck was my time. So how did I get my time back? I went and I found people like Nathan, people like Dan, the guy I showed you at the beginning. Because you know what's the beauty of finding them? Now I can be like, me and my agency has worked with over 400 clients and managed $500 million in ad spend. And I'm telling the truth.
Yay.
And I didn't have to do any of that work. I just had to find those guys. And that allowed me to skip 14 years of marketing that Dan has spent the last 14 years doing. And I can leverage him from the beginning and just go find the people that need him because I understand the market, right? But I don't have to do the work. Yeah. Cool. So real quick, just to kind of reiterate everything, I'm going to go through each strategy and which one makes the most sense for your situation. So if you're B2B and you're broke, start with outbound and networking. Outbound is free. Any of us can go on Instagram. Any of us can go on Google Maps. Any of us can go on LinkedIn and reach out to people. If you want that to be successful, it's a numbers game. Be prepared to reach out to 1,000 people to get one sale. Be prepared for it to take however much it takes, right? And so build your habits around every single day, I'm going to send this amount of outreaches. Don't be afraid to do the hard work, right? Go to networking events. Every single day, I send 55 outreaches to this day. 55 outreaches, one networking event, either online or in person, every single day, right? If you're B2C and broke, start with networking, right? Start with your network, and sweep for referrals, right? Find people that can buy your product to get it off the ground, right? When I was in college, my first business was an Amazon FBA business. I was able to scale that to 20 grand a month. You know how I did that? I went and asked every single one of my friends to buy it on Amazon and leave me a 5-star review. Right? And guess what happened? I would literally refund them. I'd be like, bro, just buy this on Amazon, leave me a good review, I'll give you the money back. And then guess what happened? The algorithm's like, wow, all these people want this product. Let's start showing it to more people. And then it picked up organically, right? So if you're doing anything that's B2C, direct to consumer, start with your network, sweep with referrals, use that to get some cash flow and testimonials in the door so you have money you can invest to get your time back. Because that's not going to be sustainable long term, right? Now, if you're B2B, this is supposed to say with little money, here's what I say with B2B. Put your first $5,000 into email. And the reason why is like what I said earlier. It's cheaper. Our cost per acquisition right now for ads is $1,500. With email, it's $400. Why? Because we're only reaching out to our target market. The other reason why is, like I mentioned, you get all that data that we can upload into our ads so our ads perform better, right? Once you get that money, inevitably you're going to diversify into advertising because the one drawback of email marketing and outbound in general is it's harder to scale because there's only so many leads. It's a volume game, it's a numbers game, and it's a little slower, right? Once you start getting some additional money that you can afford to lose and you're already cranking it outbound at capacity, that's when you start investing into advertising. Not until then. Only invest in advertising if the money you have you're comfortable losing and it's not already being put into something that's already at capacity. Any questions on that? That makes sense? Cool. And then last we have B2C with money, ads. Ads. That's pretty much it, right? Now organic content, I don't know if I put that in here, I'm realizing. No. Organic content is only do it if it's not a means to an end. If you're doing it because obviously we all want a result from it, but if the process isn't fun to you, I wouldn't even touch it.
Well, organic content, from what I'm gathering from what you said, is something that augments your market share.
What do you mean by augments?
It supports it. It helps defend
yes.
it, helps grow it. Mm-hmm. So you're telling things to people that's going to help build your funnel.
Exactly. At first, organic is lead nurture. It's not lead gen. It only becomes lead gen once you really crack the code on it, which is from consistency. It took me 700 videos before I got my first sale from content. 700. And why did I do that? Because I loved what I was creating. I didn't care if it got me views. Until I ran out of money, then I started caring that it got me views, right? But at the end of the day, trying to get clients from content is very difficult. Because if they can tell that you're just trying to get business from it, people can feel it, right? And it's something you play around with. Every person's different. You got to understand your resources. You got to understand what you're good at. If you are going to get into content, by far, in my opinion, if you have a high ticket service, podcasting is the best move, right? I started podcasting 2 weeks ago. 1 episode, I got 20 clips. Those 20 clips got me 150,000 views, right? But more importantly, I can build a relationship with the guest who now becomes a potential client or a potential referral. Right? So anyone that's looking for a low barrier to entry, I always say start with podcasts. And have that podcast be around solving the problems of your target market. right? So for me, my podcast is about how to help high-ticket service businesses generate more clients. So who am I interviewing? High-ticket service businesses that have generated clients, or services that solve and help that thing, right? And so now when I bring on guests, they're either people that have already done that I can turn it into high-level clients or referrals or build my network, right? And even if that doesn't turn into a sale, which I'm not going to force with them, I'm getting 20 pieces of content that are now generating leads and opportunities for my business. There's a specific strategy. It's called the Dream 100 strategy. If you're trying to build your audience with organic content, it takes a while to build up. So the way you speed that process up is by just finding people that already have an audience of your target market. Right? When you find those people that already have an audience at your target market and you make content about them, what do? They repost that content. Why? Because it makes them look good, right? And then that content now is getting distributed to their audience, which they are indirectly advertising you without you having to pay them a penny, right? So I've gotten clients from that, and that's really my focus now, is scaling that up, because it's the ultimate networking tool. Who doesn't want to talk about themselves for an hour? Right? So now I can leverage that podcast to get high-level guests. Next week, I'm interviewing a guy that had an 8-figure exit from an agency, right? Well, guess what? Who does that guy probably know? Probably a lot of other successful business owners, right? Which, by the way, I interviewed Kurt. You should go check out our podcast. He gave me a lot of great information, right? And so that's the biggest thing I'd say is if you're looking to get into content, by far the most sustainable method is podcasting, because not only do you get the connection with that person, you get what we call pillar content. You get an hour video that's also an hour audio. It's on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify. And then you might get a 10-minute clip about a specific thing that you turn into a 60-second TikTok. And then you might have 5 to 10 other clips from that episode. And now you just created 30 pieces of content across 5 platforms from 1 hour conversation, instead of you having to sit there and script a video or research a trend. And then the last piece I would say about that is keep your podcast to as niche of a problem as possible so you can serve your target market. Don't chase vanity metrics. Focus on making sure the right people are liking, commenting, and following on those videos, and use that as an excuse to start a conversation. And that's how I would get going with organic. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Anyone got any more questions?
So don't you recommend maybe using YouTube live stream as well?
I would only use YouTube live stream if you already have an audience, right? Like if you're just kind of like documenting your day to day, but you have like 5 subscribers, you're wasting your time. Unless it's more of a professional thing where, say, like, for example, I went upstairs and I was on that podcast on the roof, so I could live stream that, and he's asking me real questions in a professional way. All right, what we're really trying to do is create pillar content. So live stream can be great, but only if you have like a professional setup, you're specifically reacting to things in your industry, and it's done in a way where it's strategically creating pillar content. If it's just, hey, I'm just documenting my day, I would only do that if you already have an audience, because you're just basically going to be screaming into the void.
Or either blockchain stamping it for, so you can...
Yeah, so like if you're trying to track people in crypto, start a podcast interviewing people in crypto, right? Instead of going live at a crypto event, no one's going to care other than you, right? So it's about what will serve the people that are watching this, and that's hearing from the people that are experts. The cool thing is I get to have all these experts on my podcast. They give some really valuable piece of information. At the end of the video, I'll be like, hey, if you want help, shoot me a DM. I just leverage that entire person's entire career and credibility to promote me. And guess what they do? They repost that content because it makes them look good. And then what are they doing? They're driving their entire network to me, right? And now after I interview that person and their network sees the content, I go, hey, who in your network should I have on the show? They've already seen me. They already know who I am because that person has reposted me to those people already. So that's what I would say.
Ryan started a podcast about the Who's With Me when I ran for Congress in 2020.
Yeah.
I just did the interview and it was really eye-opening.
100%, right?
It was really inexpensive. Opponents, I think, spent $150 per vote, and
yeah.
only spent $1.67 from every vote I got. So they were
yeah.
like, how did you get so many votes with so little money? That was because you podcast.
Yeah.
So on your board and your slides, I didn't see anything for blocking. Now,
blocking?
I'm an SEO, so blogging is very huge because if we're talking about lead generation, we want to establish EEAT.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So where do you feel about that?
What I'll say is the reason I didn't touch on SEO, that would, for anyone know, that would probably fall under either advertising or organic. It's kind of like both, right?
Research too.
Yeah.
Because that's the first part of
Yeah.
organic.
The reason I didn't speak on it is because I don't do SEO. So that's not something that I can confidently talk about. If you need SEO, talk to this guy apparently, right? What I would say is whatever strategy you do, let the data decide whether or not that's the best route for you. And it's dependent on your business. If you're a brick and mortar, yeah, SEO is probably the best. Because if you're looking for a plumber, you're not going on TikTok, you're Googling it, right? Be mindful about where your audience is looking for you, right? Cliff, one of the guys that I spoke with here recently, he ran ads. And what he would do is he would run like a Google search ad to a landing page for that specific keyword, right? So you would specialize the funnel for that specific keyword and then just make multiple. So I'd say it depends on your business.
Right, and when you talk about the ad space for PPC with Google ads, LinkedIn ads, there's research involved in that before you hit enter and get a price point for it. So I mean, it's a really important part before we even talk about anything that we deal with in front of a computer. If you don't know how to research and you don't know who you're up against, then you probably shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Yeah, and that's why I say it's like you might be going to someone who's way better off doing like conversion ads on Facebook, but if they're asking for advice from the SEO guy, he's going to say go do SEO, right? And that was why my whole goal of this presentation was to help arm you with enough information to make a more educated decision, right? And so what I would say is whatever you do, reverse engineer where your target market is, right? Like if you're targeting, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, you probably shouldn't be running ads on TikTok, right? You should probably be investing that into going to conferences or masterminds where those people are, right? Versus if you're someone like me who maybe is going after a coach that has a $10,000 to $20,000 budget, my best bet is probably Instagram, right? Because that's where all of them are promoting themselves. So be mindful about who you're serving, reverse engineer the outcome that you're searching for, optimize for that, and then know your numbers, know your threshold, right? If I'm trying to decide if I should do email versus ads, I need to know what my cost per acquisition is. I need to know what the most I'm willing to pay for that result is. I need to know how much I need to spend to have enough data to make an accurate decision. And that's something that will just come through trial and error and experience or working with an expert that can just go do all that stuff for you. Yeah.
I think what she was saying, I think this is what I would do.
Yeah.
I already had a team of 5 or whatever. I would just film it on an old school camera or whatever, any kind of film, just always be filming so that people get comfortable being on film. That way when you're ready to catapult, you know who your face is, you know your background is, So you don't have to post a live stream, but you should mock live stream. So that you
Yeah, I mean, I'd say spend your time on what produces revenue, right? If it's not producing revenue, right, you need to understand why you're doing it or what the objective of it is that you're doing. Right? If you're doing it because you want to practice, yeah, maybe it'll get you better, right? At that point, I would just go live anyways, right? It's better to do something than versus nothing, but I think people blindly try stuff without really reverse engineering what they're actually trying to accomplish. Be very mindful of that. And I made that mistake. I was getting 14 million views a month on my channel, and I was fucking broke. Why? Because I was just enamored with all these views. But at the end of the day, it took me 2 years to finally go like, I'm not making any money. Like, why am I doing this, right? And then guess what? I switched from optimizing for views to optimizing for conversations with businesses that had money. And guess what happened? I went from charging $50 an hour to $2,500, and I got 3 clients, and I made more in a month than I had made like the whole last 6. And then I doubled my price, and I talked to 40 people, and I got 6 to pay me $5,000, and I made 30 grand in a month when the year before, it took the whole year I maybe made that. If not, maybe even less, right? Yeah.
Do you think it's a weird change in psychology how your point of I have 40 million views, but I was making no cash, whereas your intro is I'm a $300 million man. Not to put a label on you, because one of the things I say, because that clicks with me. I'm like, oh, this guy's set 300 million views. Obviously knows what he's doing. Is it like a give them what they want so you can give them what they need?
I was literally gonna say that. You got to give them what they want to give them what they need, right? So if I was like, hey guys, I have a lot of experience in marketing.
Yeah.
I've done all these different things. You're not going to care.
Cash, just out of curiosity, does it seem boastful to say I've made this much money versus I've got this many views?
I mean, they both work, right? I think it just depends on who you're talking to. Yeah. Because to some people, they might think that's nothing, right?
True.
I think it's both. I think you're, like you talked earlier, and you're really, he does an incredible job of at creating relationships, and that's really a sought after business. And you do something, so he does something that helps the social aspect of life, and you do something that helps the monetary or the economic part. But when you all those together into something that's profitable, that's also benefiting the community, it's a win-win situation. And I think that's what we're looking to do right now, and that's why it's time is of the essence to come together to brainstorm these solutions and gather the people that are actually not just talk, but they're actually doing the
doing the damn
and
thing.
They're actually executable, and the deliverables are there. That's just you can see that here's we're doing it, and then the next week we got another option, and you move forward, and they're all going in the same direction. It makes us a difference.
Yeah, of course. Real quick, I think we have to wrap it up soon. Do we have any final questions?
I'm the next speaker, so
we're good. So real quick, anyone that wants to chat, message me on Instagram.
You have another way?
I have my phone number, or LinkedIn works as well. This is my name. Just look me up. No, I have a digital one somewhere. We're just rebranding all our stuff right now. So, but yeah, or I can just grab your numbers. I just figured for anyone that wants to grab that, feel free to message me. I do weekly calls every week for free to help people with marketing. So if any of you guys want to join, just feel free to message me or just come grab my information. Thanks, guys.